There was a time where stepping on a stage seemed like the purest form of oxygen that I knew. Presenting wasn't necessarily something that I did. It was quintessentially who I was, if you know what I mean. So the rhythm, the connection, the electricity of seeing a room come alive, that was my element. It felt like every neuron was firing in harmony. The sights, the sounds, the movements, the words, they were all synchronizing. It was an orchestra that I was not only playing in, but conducting. Presenting was where I found my meaning, my flow, and most importantly, where I felt most like myself. And then life decided to test the sturdiness of that identity. One after another, there was a series of life-altering events, the kind that you don't see coming when you're too busy trying to convince everyone else that they've got this. Someone I care for even felt really ill. And that type of love doesn't worry or leave room for work, dress rehearsals, and standing ovations. And soon something strange began to happen. I would be mid-sentence during a workshop, and words that I had said hundreds of times, and my brain would just suddenly buffer, like that spinning little beach ball on a Mac that's begging for a reboot. My cognitive sharpness and the skills that I built up over the course of my career started slipping through my fingers like water. And then I started to lose motivation for the very thing that I love the most. I started to lose confidence in the thing that I was most confident about, and that's when I realized I wasn't off my game. I was starting to experience burnout. So psychologist Christina Maslach and Michael Leader define burnout as a triad of exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficacy. Basically, it's when your brain, your heart, and your purpose stop talking to one another. Chronic stress physically changes the brain. According to Bruce McEwen and his research, long-term stress shrinks your hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of the brain that helps you remember things like, why did I walk into the kitchen? And it weakens your prefrontal cortex. That's the region that regulates decision-making, executive function, and focus. And it turns up the volume on the amygdala, which is the brain's emotional alarm system, so that even the smallest stressors start to feel like existential crises. So when you feel like you're losing your edge and your drive and your joy, you're not quote-unquote losing it. It's just that your brain is getting tired of carrying the emotional equivalent of a flaming piano uphill. Okay? So awareness is what precedes agency. Agency is critical for resilience, but awareness is either the key to unlock on any capacity we have. And here's what I learned the hard way. Burnout doesn't begin when you collapse. It begins the moment that you disconnect from what gives you meaning. It starts quietly. When you stop laughing as much at things that used to delight you. When you start rehearsing what to say instead of just being present. When a single day off feels like a strategic withdrawal, not recovery. Burnout whispers, but then it screams. And that's why awareness is everything, because awareness is what precedes agency. You can't steer what you can't see. So what can we do? Good question. Thanks for asking that, by the way. Take a moment to ask yourself, what are your early warning signs of misalignment? Maybe you start losing patience with people who don't deserve it. Okay, some of them actually might, but surely not all of them. Or maybe you rely a lot more on caffeine to stimulate your personality. Guilty. Or maybe you start to feel nothing about the things that usually make you deeply feel something. These aren't character flaws, they're dashboard lights. They're the system's way of saying, hey, you might want to pull over and pay attention to this. So the reboot came when I finally acknowledged my burnout. I didn't find instant enlightenment or a magical fix, but what I did find was something powerful but subtler, which was the awareness to pause and to reflect and to rebuild, because recovery isn't just necessarily about bouncing back. A lot of times it's about bouncing forward. It's about rediscovering the version of yourself that energizes and engages you in what you love the most, what makes you feel alive. So if you find yourself losing a spark in what once lit you up, don't wait for the breakdown. Recognize those signs and reclaim your agency. Remember, even the most finely tuned system needs maintenance because you can't ignite others if your own pilot light is out.